Was the season good enough? Was the season good enough this season? We do have a poll out on our YouTube live stream comments for those of you that just had to watch me lip sync there if you hadn't turned it off watching that painful, emotional performance. You can go there. You can vote. It's a grade question that we asked. Give the Canes a grade for the year, A, B, C, and then the last option is D/F. Vote there. We'll revisit it and see what you think. The first thing I want to do here, before I give you my answer, is make it so like you can answer both. One thing I get frustrated by are the weird gatekeepers that act like you can't be upset with a team because they were once bad. If you were a Canes diehard during the down years, right? Between Rod the player and Rod the head coach, right? The down years where you were losing a lot. And because of that, gatekeeping's the wrong word, but you try to be like a bouncer for people being upset. Like, if you're upset after making the Eastern Conference Finals, you weren't around in 2013. And if no, that's not how it works. Okay? There was a point in time where just making the playoffs for the Carolina Hurricanes or just winning a series for the Carolina Hurricanes felt like moving mountains, and you danced in the streets and you celebrated because it had been a long time. But then guess what happened? You did it again. And guess what happened? You did it again and again and again and again. And if you don't start expecting more, that doesn't make any sense. Right? If a golfer was a bad golfer and they were excited to break 100 for the first time, they shot a 99 and they took pictures and they sent it to their friends and they bought drinks for everyone. And then they became a better golfer, they don't have to celebrate every single time they hit 99. Right? And maybe now their goal is 79. Maybe it's better. Maybe they've worked their way into a 2 handicap, and if they go out there and shoot 94, they're allowed to be angry. The Canes are significantly better than they were as a program, as a franchise 6 years ago. 7 years ago when this whole run started. So you should celebrate different things. You should. Also, the opposite is true. Right? You can be mad. You can look at this team and say, at this point, this many years in, if you're not holding the cup, it's a loss. It's cup or bust every year. You can say that because this program has been that good and they've been knocking on the door. And if one win in the Eastern Conference Finals doesn't get your juices flowing, that's fine too. But what I think you have to do is just look at an individual year. Look at this year's roster with this year's situation and this year's challenges and ask yourself if this year's result was good enough. And when you look at all that, for me, I say yes. I say full context, everything, but looking at what's in front of us, I say it was a good enough year. Rod Brind'amour, after the game yesterday, was asked about what this team accomplished after losing so many contributors and higher-priced guys last offseason.
Like, it's the craziest thing that we're this far, and it's all we're hearing is negativity from everybody. And it's when I walked this summer and with the pieces that were left this organization, I was like, I don't think we're making playoffs. I was that worried about it because it was such a mass exodus of good players to free agency. And then we were able to find good players to fill in, and then I was like, I don't know if they're that good, but they hung in there. So I got nothing but pride with this group. And, we didn't love how this kind of went this series, but again, that's the standard right there. You're not giving Florida enough credit.
I think Rod was short-selling himself there a little bit. I never, and we have the receipts, you can go check it out, you can go find on the archives. I never thought this wasn't a playoff roster. I won't sit here and say I thought it was a conference finals roster, but I thought it was third in the Metro, first round hard-fought exit, second round graceful exit, kind of that's the range. And they ended up making it to Eastern Conference Finals in dominant fashion on the way there. That's good. I think the Canes overachieved twice this year. Twice. I think right out the gate they overachieved. Remember when Martin Necas was on fire and he was on pace for, I think it was 700 points?
Yeah.
That little streak where they opened up and won a bunch?
And Jack Roslovic, the first 20 games of the year, was on pace for like 50 goals.
All the way to being a healthy scratch in the postseason.
Yep.
But the way they started was overachieving, and I think that got everybody's wheels cranking a little fast, and it made the Mikko trade make sense. They went from a team that I don't think any of us had super high aspirations for to, you know what, they might be Mikko Rantanen away from a cup. Then the Rantanen situation happened the way it did. You could call it a debacle. I wouldn't argue with you. And after that, expectations had dropped down a bunch, right? And it's okay. Now they're playing for the future. They traded the win now piece for the picks and the young player, and it's going to be a reset. Then they overachieved again and made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's 2 separate overachieves in 1 year. It's pretty good. That's part of the reason why I think when you look at the situation, this year is a positive year for the Canes. And the other thing it does, and they've continued to do this, is it does set a new standard. I think here's the way it looks like to me, right? Without being in the room with Don Waddell at the time and Eric Tulsky and Rod Brind'amour at their little Knights of the Round Table decision makers, I think it was almost a 6-year build to last year, right? They built up for over half a decade to last season, which is why if you go back to our preseason last year, we're talking about cup or bust. We're talking about can't prove anything till the postseason. I think it was a build up towards last year. And when last year was the big disappointment that it was in the postseason, they decided the best thing to do was to take a step back and retool. Not a full restart, just a step back, a retool, change some things, reset some cap situations, and probably be ready to roll again next year. Not meaning this year as next year, like literal next year from where we stand right now. So think about the standard that was just set this season. Your retool years, your step back years end in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's about as high a standard as you can have. There's not a lot of steps in front of Eastern Conference Finals for you to step back and end up there. Is there a 4 or 5 guys, and who knows how many of them will even be on the roster next year? 4 or 5 guys that you wouldn't expect to be better next season than this season on this Carolina Hurricanes roster? Just by natural development and still being at the point of their careers where they're getting better rather than holding on and trying not to lose it? And who knows how many of them will even be on the roster, right? You're talking the Burns, the Orlovs, maybe a Stahl just by age. Like, there's not many of them, and I think more than a couple of them won't even be there. Everybody else should be better next year than they were this year. It's a build-up towards last year, a step back this year, still ended in the Eastern Conference Finals, and now full steam ahead, all systems go towards next year. I don't think we'll be sitting here being okay with anything but a Stanley Cup Finals next year, but we're putting the cart way ahead of the horse at that point to see what happens this offseason.